How's it going, people? Welcome back to AFTV and welcome back to another Box to Box. I'm here with Saints fan Dan. How's it going, Dan?
Yeah, I'm good, man. Yourself?
Yeah, well, I could be better considering the form Arsenal are in, but outside of Arsenal, I'm good. I can't really complain much. How you been feeling about Southampton so far this season?
Yeah, mixed one. Definitely a mixed one. I think of late, disappointed. Definitely disappointed throwing away two good performances with late goals
Yeah,
to draw. The Leicester one, I think everyone was a bit like, it's a point against Leicester. It's not a bad result, but the Brighton one on Saturday was just, I mean,
yeah.
to concede in the 98th minute, to now have two injured goalkeepers, to like, it was mental, man. It was just is ridiculous, incredibly frustrating. But we go to the Emirates on Saturday, hoping to get back to winning ways. Potentially, it'd be a big task, but stranger things have happened of late.
Yeah, a bad day at the office to say the least with the two goalkeepers and the last. Brighton have a tendency to do that this season, last minute goals, injury
Mm,
time goals. On Southampton, I want to ask you first about the manager.
hmm
Obviously, even with him, it's been up and down in terms of how he's viewed by fellow fans and
Sure.
pundits and whatnot. At sometimes, people say he needs to step up, like he's done enough to warrant maybe a bigger club. But at other points, you've had two 9-0 losses over the couple seasons. This season hasn't started off too well. The transfer window in particular for me, you lost a couple key experienced players and just didn't bring in what I thought you would need. Firstly, the manager, like, what do you make of him? Is he good for you guys? Is it going well or?
I think he is good for us. The fan base is incredibly divided right now. Probably the most it's been since he's been here. We've had it was the 3-year anniversary since he came in this week, and I would say at the moment it's definitely the most divided it has been. You know, at times people have been kind of bowing down to Ralph as if he's God, kind of thing.
Yeah,
And now, there's definitely some people in there thinking that he needs to step down, or a change needs to be made. For me, first and foremost, I couldn't see anyone available right now who would do a better job. It's a tricky situation at Southampton right now. We're not getting backed financially, which is why maybe you saw the
yeah.
transfer window and thinking, oh, we didn't really replace the players we let go. That's just because there weren't enough funds. So to be honest, I'm sat here. He's been in 3 years, and I'm surprised he hasn't walked out yet. Within those 3 years, it's been an incredibly difficult job. Because he's, like I said, he's not had the funds to be backed. But based on him as a manager, what he's kind of done this season, he's improved. I would say he's improved. He's definitely learned from a few mistakes. The 2 seasons prior, 2.5 seasons prior to this one, we were just terrible defensively, conceding way too many goals. Come to the end of each season, it was a tally of like 60, 70 goals. It's just in the league, which ain't good enough. And so he's definitely worked on our defensive shape. We've looked a lot better defensively, keeping more clean sheets. But then at the other end of the pitch, there's been that sacrifice, and we're not scoring as many goals. So it's just about trying to find that balance right now. He's been naive tactically at times, and then other times he'll wow you with
Mm.
a game-winning substitution. It's just very frustrating at times with Ralph, because you can see how good he can be. Some of the football we've played under him has been the best I've seen in my 20 years as a Saints fan. Um, yeah, and that's comparing to a side that finished sixth under Ronald Koeman.
Yeah.
So that is a big statement. But at other times, we just look so inept and just lackluster and naive. Our game management's woeful. 71 points dropped from winning position since he came in to
Yeah.
four over the last 2 games. And that's where we're not going to progress unless that's changed. If that makes sense.
Yeah, that's the fine margins. Coming into the season, obviously with that transfer window, what did you expect? Come May, let's say. What did you expect for Southampton?
I can't lie. I thought we were going to be really, really in there in terms of the relegation battle. I think there was
Yeah.
a lot of negativity in the summer from our fan base. I think our start to the season, given the fact that we had a tricky run of fixtures and did quite well with some of those, gave everyone a little bit more hope. But overall, I think everyone, definitely at the start of the season, myself included, felt we were going to be in there. You never know when it's going to be your year to go down. This is our ninth or 10th consecutive season since our promotion, but you don't know when it's going to end. It kind of feels like we may be coming close to the end of that, whether it's this season, next season, season after. Something has to change. But I was definitely concerned, massively concerned, based on how we'd finished last season. We were really good, 6th in January, and then finished 15th. I mean, we fell off a cliff, basically. And I think because of that form going into the new season, everyone was really concerned.
Yeah, I remember that fall off as well. Because, like I said, in January, Hasenhuttl was being talked about as potentially a next Man United manager. I remember that name got linked, but now it's very different. Obviously, you're also a freelance writer, Dan. You're a writer for Snack Media. You're a journalist. So I want to ask you about Arsenal and an unbiased perspective on first our season so far, and then secondly, Mikel Arteta and the position he's in.
I think Arsenal's a work in progress right now. It seems very much that there's a real good couple of young players. I think Smith Rowe has come on leaps and bounds. I wasn't really buying into the Smith Rowe hype last season, but now he's added goals to his game. I completely see it.
Yeah.
He's got that England call up and it's deserved. Saka, he's going to progress. I think he's going to go on and be a good player. And then a couple of the signings, I haven't watched too much of Arsenal. It's been interesting. Sambi's looked okay at times. I quite like Tomiyasu. I hadn't seen him play before. So, it's a work in progress. Like I said, there's some new faces in there. There's some old faces that I think have overstayed their welcome, if that makes sense. I think there's, still a bit of dead rubber in that squad. But I think if I was an Arsenal fan, I wouldn't be worrying. Obviously, with Arsenal, there's always going to be high standards, high expectations, but like I said, it's a work in progress. With Arteta, I think it's one of those where I feel like there probably is someone out there who could do a better job. It's just a case of who. A bit like Saints, it seems like the game management has been a little bit naive. I mean, to throw away that game against Everton, I mean, in fairness, Everton deserved it.
Yeah.
Arsenal never got going, and it seems like there's always those sorts of games where Arsenal might show up against teams below them in the table, and then when it comes to the bigger games, they just crumble. I mean, with that United game as well, and they're very similar to Saints in the last 2 games. Throwing away games from winning positions. Obviously, you guys lost your games, so yeah, it's a work in progress. But there's definitely a lot of room for improvement, I feel.
Yeah, and to be honest, that was a pretty good assessment, because the way I look at Arsenal right now, and don't get me wrong, it's bad right now, but I feel like over the last couple of years it's been worse. And the reason I say that is because you mentioned certain players overstaying their welcome, and we do still have a couple, but over the last couple of years, especially the last 6 to 12 months, we've managed to get rid of a lot that had overstayed their welcome already. And you mentioned Arteta, the game management, and for us Arsenal fans, it's such a balance of believing in the young squad, like you said, Emil Smith-Rowe, Saka, Martinelli, Tomiyasu, Ben White, Ramsdale. All these players are young. Tavares, Lokonga. Believing in the young squad, seeing the experience let us down, seeing a naive manager and an unambitious owner. That literally all ends of the spectrum are in Arsenal Football Club right now. And I know you, being a writer and being someone, on social media, you can see the divide amongst the Arsenal fans, and how not only toxic it can be, but how many different opinions come from this one situation at Arsenal Football Club, and it's hard to keep a balance with it. Then, outside looking in, do you have some advice on how to keep balance with it all? Because I do like asking opposition fans about the situation at Arsenal, and you didn't mention the owner, and obviously that is a big problem. But how do we balance it all? How do we believe in a young team, see the performances we've been seeing, and also realize that this owner really isn't going to take us to the back to the glory days?
I mean, if I had the answer, I'd be in a multi-million-pound job. But
I'd hire you, mate.
yeah, advice. I think it's a really hard one, but it feels like there needs to be a bit of patience. I think with the ownership, as soon as Kroenke can kind of get out and Arsenal can change their hierarchy, the better, obviously. But I think in terms of looking at the squad and the players that are there now, I think it is about patience. Maybe Mikel Arteta has, like I said, with some of these players, maybe he has overstayed his welcome. Maybe it is time for change. But you got to, in my books, you got to support what's in front of you right now. At the moment, Arsenal have got a young squad, talented squad, but a squad still very young, and that is only going to get better. A young manager, it was his first job as a head coach, a big job to kind of step into. I think there's got to be a bit of patience there. I mean, Arsenal have been well below their set standard for a number of years now. Something is gonna have to change soon. But I think right now, you've got a big run of fixtures coming up until January. See what happens in January. But for now, you've got to focus on the short term and getting through this festive period and get the most amount of points as possible. Because then, you come out of Christmas with a couple of wins. You're looking at top six, definitely top four. I feel like maybe fourth place is there for someone, but definitely getting back into Europe. It feels like that's going to be the bare minimum for Arsenal this season in terms of targets.
Yeah, I mean, I look at the next 5 games before the new year, and it's Southampton at home, West Ham at home, Leeds away, Norwich at home, and Wolves away, I believe. And I look at that and say, really, it should be 15 points. A manager in his second full season, good young squad going into those games. Okay, the West Ham one sticks out as maybe a tricky one, but when you're at home, you should be beating West Ham in your second full season as Arsenal manager. But we'll see. On to our game. Looking at our last 5, you've won only 1 in your last 5. We've won only 2. We've lost 3 in our last 5. You've lost 2. So 2 teams going into this game in poor form. Home advantage for us, like you mentioned, with your last couple of games. Good performances. What I noticed about Southampton after international break is you lot are having a lot more shots on goal. It just seems to be a little change from before. I don't know what's changed, but when I look at your last few games, there's a lot more attacking, in my opinion, anyway. So what's your thoughts on the game, Dan?
I think it's going to be a tough one for us. I think it's come at a bad time in the sense that we've got suspensions and injuries, and obviously we're coming off the back of 2 games where we should have probably picked up 3 points, and then prior to that, 2 defeats, one very disappointing, one kind of expected against Liverpool. But I feel there's a chance. There's always a chance against Arsenal. We've always, or most of the time, we've always kind of gone to the Emirates and put on a show. We've never been able to come away with that win. But the last 2 performances in particular,
2 draws, right?
The 1-1,
1-1,
2
2-2.
draws, the 1-1, 2-2, both of which I would have said, we should have won based on how we played. I remember the one last year. I think we were playing against 10 men for at least 40 minutes, 45 minutes potentially. And then the year before that, we conceded deep into added time. So we've come close, and we've got to take that into confidence. But this is a different team. We've got a couple of new faces based on compared to the teams that went to Arsenal the last 2 times.
And you beat us in the FA Cup last year.
And we beat you in the FA Cup. I was going to say that leads me nicely on to my next point. If it was at home, I think we'd be having a better time of things in this one. But I feel like our away form in 2021 has been woeful. It's been really, really bad. We've kind of worked out on the home form, improved that. We've only lost once at home this year. A lot of draws, but we've only lost at once. So, it's a tough one. I think this is a good opportunity for Arsenal to bounce back. But at the same time, it's a good opportunity for us, I think, to nick a point, get a decent result away at a good side in difficult circumstances.
Yeah, and something that I find interesting, we're 7th, you're 16th, but looking at the points, 23 points, Arsenal 16, Southampton, goals scored 18 for Arsenal, 14 for Southampton, goals conceded 22 for Arsenal, 21 for Southampton. So we've actually conceded more goals than Southampton in a season where people suggest Arsenal's defense is improving. And on one hand, I agree that defensively we look more organized, more structured, and we have players capable of playing out the back, and that looks better. But as a team, as a unit, we're still being let down. And I think it goes back to the experience you mentioned before, Dan. Where's this game? I was going to ask, where's this game won for you? But I think having had this conversation, you'd be happy with a point at the Emirates.
Yeah, I'd take a point right now. I mean, you can say that and then go up there and kind of put in a really good performance and come away with 1 point when really you should have deserved 3. But right now on paper, I know the game's not played on paper, but on paper as a fan, I would be taking 1 point from this one. Just based on the circumstances, really. I mean, we've got we've got a 40-year-old Willy Caballero set to make his debut in goal after 2 injuries to our 2 goalkeepers, which is, if you'd said to me at in the 96th minute of our game against Brighton that the next game we'd be going into with 2 less points than we should have had and Willy Caballero in goal, I would have laughed. But here we are, So it's a tough one. Like I've said, it's a tough one. But yeah, I'll take a point right now.
What are you looking at as the key battle to gain that point? Then let's look at Arsenal's. This is a double-loaded question. So where's the key battle for you in terms of how you can take the point away, and if there is an avenue to win, do you see a weakness in Arsenal that you want Southampton to attack?
I'd quite like to see. I'll answer that second one first. I think I'd quite like to see a bit more from our fullbacks in terms of attacking play, getting crosses into the box. I think Tino Livramento has been a standout player this year. There's been a lot of hype about him already, which is really good to see because it's justified. He's been unbelievable. This kid came in for £5 million from the Chelsea academy, started the first game at right back after Walker Peters had a very good season at right back, literally took his spot, and Walker has had to make him go and develop himself into a left back. That's how good Livramento is at 19. So I'd like to see him get forward a bit more, put some crosses in, because over the last couple of games he's been a little bit lackluster. I think there's been a few calls for him to have a little rest, but no doubt he'll start. So I'd like to see a bit more from him. Same with Walker Peters, because he is a naturally right-footed player. He's been a little bit a little bit again lackluster in the sense of going forward, because he always has to cut inside onto his right foot. He's got to start getting that left foot going. So I'd like to see some balls into the box, because that's where we can cause problems. And then to answer the first question, I think we need to be taking our chances, because I have absolutely no doubt that we will be getting chances in this game. Our main problem this season has been our conversion rate. It looks like Shea Adams is going to miss this one, which is a big blow. So it looks like we're going to have 2 up top with Armando Broja and Adam Armstrong. We haven't really seen them play together that much, so it'll be interesting, definitely. But particularly Armstrong, the conversion rate's not been there yet. We're getting shots off, like you said. Obviously, since the international break, it's a good point. We've been getting more shots away. I think that's more down to the form of Nathan Redmond and having Nathan Teller back in the starting lineup. So that's the creativity. The creativity's there. It's about being clinical. And if we want to come away, we're going to have to be taking our chances. It's as simple as.
Yeah, and I was going to ask you if there's a key man in terms of Arsenal's attack. Who would it be? But you mentioned Smith Rowe earlier. I look at the stats: top scorer in the league for Arsenal, Smith Rowe with 5 goals. Top assister in the league, Smith Rowe and Saka with 2 assists apiece. So, would I be right in saying Emil Smith Rowe is the one to look out for you, or?
Yeah, he is. I mean, from what I've seen on Twitter, you can obviously clarify this, but I've seen a few rumours that he might be missing this one with injury. I don't know if he's a doubt. But obviously, if he's on the pitch, then yeah, of course. Saka as well. And then you kind of look at the strikers, and it kind of feels like if Aubameyang was to start, then he's bound to score. It's one of those. But right now, I don't particularly fear Lacazette or Aubameyang. It's more about the wide men. It's more about those 2 young English lads that we've spoken about, Smith Rowe and Saka. They're the ones for me that I'm always concerned about, or particularly concerned about now after the seasons they've had, particularly Smith Rowe.
Yeah, and to be honest, I'm just checking now, and it does look like Smith Rowe's a doubt. It doesn't say for sure. But Martinelli in the last couple of games also has shown that, that young exuberance off the bench, and he brings something different. Let's wrap it up down. A prediction. What are you going for?
Yeah, I'm sure the Arsenal fans will be happy to hear this. I'm going to go 2-1 Arsenal. I think it's just come at the worst time for us. Like I said, it's away as well. We're not great away from home. And I think it's a good opportunity for Arsenal to bounce back. Having said that, we will give you a game. We will be creating chances. It's just about taking them.
Anytime I ask this question this week, because I do a few shows where I need to make a prediction, and every time I honestly, genuinely feel like it's a 1-1, 2-2 sort of game. But then anytime I master a prediction, I go with 2-1 Arsenal, because that's what it should be, in my opinion. And I'm just going to stick by it and be positive and say we're going to bounce back, and let's go with 2-1 Arsenal. You've said it, I've said it, so let's hope it. Well, not let. I'll hope it goes that way. Dan, obviously, tell them a bit more about yourself before we leave.
Yeah, so first and foremost, I'm a Southampton fan, Southampton writer, freelance journalist at the moment, covering the Premier League, EFL, all of that. I'm a student as well. So basically just football, a lot of writing about football at the moment. So I'm being kept busy with all the games going on at the moment. But yeah, I wouldn't have it any other way. You can follow me on Twitter and Dan J Hargraves. I'm sure it'll be in the description below.
Yeah.
But yeah, you see my face on these sorts of things, talk about saying some kind of, yeah, it feels like there's not enough. We said off air at the start, there aren't enough Southampton people who like to have their face shown. So that's where I step in. But yeah, anything kind of Southampton related football writing you can find on my Twitter.
Yeah, and I'm sure we'll be talking again, like you said, there's a lack of Southampton fans online. So next game this season, we'll be back again,
Yeah, I'll
Dan.
be there, man. I'll be there.
We appreciate you giving us your time, Dan. And like he
Yeah,
said, in the description below, his Twitter link and any other, social medias that Dan has, you can get to know him over there in the description below. As I said, Dan, thank you for coming on. People, let us know your thoughts, lineups, key battles, and predictions in the comment section below. Hit the like button on the way out. And love for the love as always, people. Peace.